The British Peace Assembly brings everyone gathered here and their organisations greetings of solidarity and peace. We thank the Belgrade Forum for a World of Equals, the World Peace Council, and all who have organised this most significant and timely conference marking the 25th anniversary of the catastrophic NATO aggression against Yugoslavia. We pay our respects to the many hundreds killed during the 78-day bombing campaign, to their families and to all survivors of the suffering. 5 years ago, on the 20th anniversary, here in this city, even we who knew so much about it could little imagine the further horrors US imperialism and its allies would so soon inflict. Undreamed of acts of barbarism hatched from their greed for wealth and power. We particularly think in this era in which imperialism so indiscriminately murders children of the youngest victims of the 1999 attack, whose lives and potential were so prematurely cut off. Their poignant memorial stands in nearby Taj Maidan Park, bearing 4 simple words: "We were only children." Those words echo today across a war-torn world, crying out for the slaughtered children of all conflicts, for the murdered children of Gaza. We recall with horror the orchestrated terror and devastation inflicted purposefully and mercilessly on the people of Yugoslavia by the US and its allies, including the Tony Blair Labour government of Britain and the neoliberal establishment in whose interests it acted. We remember the enduring legacy, the lasting consequences of NATO's Operation Allied Force. Comrades, on the 24th of March 1999, the world changed forever. Lines that were crossed unmasked the nature and intent of the most reactionary powers on earth. For the first time, NATO conducted a military operation in a country beyond its boundaries. For the first time, force was used against a sovereign state without UN security approval. There were no boots on the ground, sole reliance on air power, the most advanced technology and deadly weaponry. Large-scale use of satellite missile guiding technology made its debut. B-2 stealth bombers were first used in live combat, and the scene was set for all the horrors to come, down to the present day. There was, despite the rhetoric, no plausible reason to attack. Events in Kosovo pose no discernible threat to the national security of any NATO country. Yet public opinion in those countries was won over on the basis of a sophisticated and highly effective web of lies. The day before the first bomb fell, Prime Minister Tony Blair told Parliament that Britain would do what it was about to do to avert what would otherwise be a humanitarian disaster in Kosovo. But the aggression was long planned, and nothing Belgrade did or did not do could have changed the mind of NATO's generals. In Britain, few people were aware or have since become aware of what truly took place. They have little idea of the sheer scale of death and injury, of the numbers of refugees and displaced people, of the destruction of thousands of homes, of schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, airfields, oil refineries, factories, power and water plants, public buildings, broadcasting facilities, and telecommunications networks. They are unaware of the poisoning of the environment by toxic emissions from bombed industrial sites and the widespread and long-lasting effects of depleted uranium. To this day, they have been kept ignorant of the fact that all strategic military targets were destroyed within 3 days, yet the bombing continued for a further 75, with lethal cluster bombs rained down on civilians from early April. Neither do they know that civilian targets and places where it was known that civilians would be casualties were deliberately attacked, or that subsequent rescue attempts and medical teams attending the injured were subjected to secondary terror bombing. There was no exposure in Britain of war crimes and carnage, nor were there calls, nor have there been calls for justice and reparation. For NATO, the aggression against the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia was a success by any measure. For the military-industrial complexes of the West, it was a vindication of investment, with the promise of trillions of dollars profit to be had from coming wars and threats of wars. But for the people of the world, it was a tragic precursor of a whole new order of aggression. In Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, Ukraine, Sudan, Palestine, a prefiguring of its contemporary warmongering and a chilling warning to all peace-loving people. Britain played a full and significant part in Operation Allied Force, in mobilising support for military action from the summer of 1997, and in detailed planning from then on in. During the campaign, from the outset, B-52 bombers left from bases in England. HMS Invincible operated Sea Harrier jets, and an array of British destroyers, frigates and warplanes gave support throughout. Today, Britain continues to play this role as #1 ally of the United States, just as Churchill promised to Truman in Potsdam while World War II still raged. Today, Britain's bases, from Akrotiri to Diego Garcia, once honed for colonial domination, are now indispensable to US imperialism's bid to control not only the resources of Africa and the Middle East, but also the vast wealth of the Indo-Pacific. Aggression is cemented in ever more deadly pacts, AUKUS, Quad, while Britain plays again a full and fearsome new imperialist role. The British Peace Assembly calls unequivocally for the closure of all British bases and its 145 military installations in 42 countries. We call for a halt to the massive upgrading work being planned and undertaken at Akrotiri, Cyprus, at astronomical cost. We also call for an immediate end to its decade-long use for the training of military personnel for secret surveillance of the whole Middle East region, and for the deadly bombing missions threatening the peace of Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. All military supplies to and support for the Israeli War Cabinet's unspeakable assault on the Palestinian people, facilitated via our government's Cyprus bases, must end now, as must the transformation of Cyprus into an island arsenal. This exposes its whole population to retaliatory attack and threatens the region and beyond to all-out war. The British Peace Assembly and the wider peace movement in Britain must use this anniversary to ensure that the people of Britain understand what was done in their name in 1999. It will be repeated time and again unless we are strong, united and vigilant. In Britain, that strength is now on display week after week as hundreds of thousands come onto the streets to demand peace in Palestine, the release of prisoners and the end to genocide. The sheer scale of protest is unsurpassed in modern times in Britain. But protest alone is not enough. The people of Britain must unite to challenge their warmongering government, expose its crimes, halt its plans, dissipate its lies, and bring it down. The World Peace Council, its affiliates, and the peace movements of every country must place imperialism and NATO under the spotlight so that people know and understand why we say no to NATO and yes to peace. We must never forget, but we must do more than remember. We must, if there is to be a world of equals, tear up the roots of aggression and struggle together against the forces of imperialism and stand side by side for peace, democracy and progress, for the new and just order which must prevail if we are to survive. Thank you.